one of the things I think is so interesting, you know, we trust God in every area except for relationships. We trust God in every area, every single area. And, and not even just we trust God in every area, but we're learning to trust God in every area. But when it comes to relationships, it's like, not this part. I don't want God to be involved in this area of my life. But it's like he's involved in every area of your life. And the main thing I think we always forget is God says, seek me first, seek my kingdom, do my will, and all things will be added unto you. Just put me first, and all things will be added unto you. Not one, not two, all things. And it's like, we don't think about those things, but that's what he's talking about too. I want to be involved even in your relationships. And it's like, oftentimes, especially with relationships, when we don't trust God and we're going after what our own desires are, we'll probably land in the wrong place, because we think we know what's best for us, but we don't. Only God knows what we need, especially in our relationships or who we're going to be doing life with eventually to marry. And that's so important to put God first, even in your pursuit of a relationship. So, okay, God, listen, this is yours. I trust you so much so that I'm going to do your will. And in that, I'll find out who you have for me. So it's like, when we get into that battle or we get in this trouble of, okay, God, where's mine? That's the issue. Our focus is, God, give me, instead of let me serve you. Let me focus on you. Let me simply trust you with my life, so much so that even when I'm confused, even when I'm lonely, I know that it's in your time the relationship will come. It's in your time my desires will be met, because God knows, we were built for a relationship. He knows we have desires. He knows we want to be with somebody. But our issue is, number one, we haven't been transformed yet. Our minds haven't been renewed. Our hearts haven't been healed. Our brokenness and our voids haven't been filled by him. So it's like, we're thinking about, I need to be in a relationship. God's saying, no, I'm trying to rebuild you. I'm trying to do a good work in you so you can be whole, so you can be one. So when you meet the other person, you're not going in talking about this person completes me. No, it's two whole people coming together. So it's like, I know there's things God wants to do in me, right? So instead of me focus on a relationship, I focus on God. I focus on our relationship, me and him, the good work he's doing in me. You feel what I'm saying? Because it's in that I can even be ready for a relationship. But the main part of the whole thing when it comes to dying at the flesh and kind of like that whole thing with relationships and God, no funny junk, it's like, we have to get to a place where we literally are so in tune with God, and we are going to seek God for him. We, in our time with God, it's about him, not about what we can get, not about promotion, increase, relationships. It can't be about all that. Those things are great. Those things are awesome. God cares about those things so much. But it's in that time with God when it's about him. Right? He says, when your ways please me, I'll bless you. I'll give you your heart's desires. And it's in that when our ways please him, when the fruits of the Spirit have been produced in us, when he's been doing the good work in us to the point where we're reflecting him in our everyday lives, where we're moving in his will, everything falls into place. It's when my prayer time is when just my spending time, alone time with God becomes about him, that everything else comes. You put him first, everything else comes. So even just the simple, dying at my flesh. So those desires that I feel, that loneliness I feel, how does that go away? Just get before him. And that's the issue. We don't get there, so we don't think that he can, in a sense, fill that loneliness void. One thing that God always made clear to me was I have to be comfortable with being alone. I have to be okay with being alone. Even with that being okay with being alone thing. We don't understand what's on the opposite side of getting before the presence of God. If I get before the presence of God, that's where, my voids are taken care of. He's doing surgery on me. So again, with the dying at the flesh thing, when God was kind of leading me to a place where he was saying, son, I want you to be okay with being alone. It's even with relationships, something that he always made clear to me. I never was single. It's like I went from attention to attention, from this person to that person. So just him asking me, be okay with being alone. It's like, You hear that and it's like, okay, God, but then you actually start seeing, oh, I want attention, or I want to be with somebody. I want this affection. I want this love. And he's saying, be okay with being alone. But it's not just simply be alone. It's get before me while you're alone. When you're separating yourself from certain people in certain environments, it's get before me. It's there. It's there. It's times where I felt lonely. What do? I respond to worship. I respond by getting before him. It's there. He starts to fully satisfy me. That's where he wants to bring us, where we're so fully satisfied in him, his will, just in love with him, that everything else comes into play. We don't do it so we can get this, but it's when we do this, we get that. It's a miracle. It's a blessing in itself. But the root of it, to die at your flesh, in a sense, to kind of like, I'm lonely. Like you say, I'm lonely. I want a relationship, but I love God, and I don't know what he's saying, or God, this is what I want. Did you forget about me, God? He's like, no. Just get before me. You'll find that every desire, every need, everything you want, it will be met. Just get before me. I'm doing a good work in you. I have work for you. Sometimes our feelings can even get in the way. I'm saying I want this, guy saying, that's not what you want. That's temporary. If only you knew I had this much for you. I have so much for you. And it's in that again, the rest is taken care of. You just got to get before God.